Hey, buddy. It's okay. It's all right. Hey, look, I'm just a normal guy. Want to hold on to this? Hold on to my mask? Put on the mask and it's going to make you strong.
Oh no, my weakness, small knives. I'm Hunter,
I'm Nick.
and welcome to NYC Actors Talk Film, where we talk the Amazing Spider-Man.
Well, welcome to NYC Actors Talk Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man! But hey, none of those characters are in this one. This is the first time we're doing a Spider-Man movie without those guys.
This is a deep cut.
It's a deep cut?
It's a deep cut. We're going deeper into the lore.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess we're going deeper. Yeah, definitely
Yes,
deeper.
Nick,
Yes.
we have a guest.
We have a guest. Oh, yes, that's right. Also, as you viewers can tell, we are doing Zoom this time. We're all very excited.
Love it.
For timing purposes, to get all these episodes out before the end of the year, we're doing this. Patrick Konis is our special guest.
Hey. Da na 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 da na 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 na. Look out.
All right, that was Patrick Konis, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming.
Sorry, my Prada's at the cleaners, along with my hoodie and my FU flip-flops. You pretentious douchebag. Sorry! My Prada's at the cleaners!
The product's at the cleaners!
This is Patrick's second time on the show.
That's right.
We did I Confess, and then we talked a little bit about I'm thinking of ending things. So if you haven't watched that episode, stay here, but afterward, go back and listen to that because it's a great episode.
That's right. Yeah. So welcome back, Patrick.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back.
So guys, we did the Raimi movies. Me and Hunter did the Raimi movies. We did Spider-Man 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
Third one's a little bit of a mixed bag for us, just a bit, but also not as bad as some other people said it was. We like it, even though we don't love it, but as a whole, we love the Raimi films, especially the first two. Some of our favorite superhero movies ever, at least in my opinion. I don't know about you, Hunter, but I'm assuming yes.
Same.
I just binged your first two, the Spider-Man 1 and 2.
Oh, amazing.
Yes,
well, stay tuned for our third one with Jonathan Z. Cantor.
Oh, I can't wait.
Get ready. Oh, the final 2 minutes, iconic. Get ready.
Yeah. Okay.
I sent you, Hunter. So now we're doing this one. So, Sam Raimi, out. Tobey Maguire, out. Kirsten Dunst,
Gone.
Get out. You're done. But they did have an idea for Spider-Man 4 in mind, as we kind of mentioned before in the last episode, Hunter. That, they were going to do Spider-Man 4 with Sam Raimi with everyone back. And they were going to have Vulture, who
John Malkovich.
Oh, what?
John Malkovich, baby.
That's right, John Malkovich as the Vulture, because he was in consideration for a Green Goblin. He didn't get the role, but, Sam Raimi was like, I do want him, though, in these movies. And so he was going to be Vulture. And they were going to have Black Cat, Felicia Hardy. Anne Hathaway was apparently going to play her. But instead she played another cat later on in her career. Actually, the same year, right? 2012 was both the same year as... Yeah. The same year as Dark Knight Rises and Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Well, but two really dark and gritty superhero movies. That's amazing.
Right.
Amazing Spider-Man. And they were also apparently going to have Lizard. And so in this one we get Lizard, obviously. But in the, in Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3, they have Dr. Kirk Connors, who is the Lizard. He shows up in those movies as just a minor character who's, just a supportive, teacher for Peter, right, in college. So in the fourth one, he was going to become the Lizard. They were finally going to, pay that off, which I think would still be very interesting if they ever did, if they ever make a Spider-Man 4, which I feel like they might do it. Anyway, so that all was going to happen. But Sony being Sony, there's just so much control with them, and so much studio interference still, even after the third movie. And so Raimi, unhappy already with the outcome of the third movie, quit. Or not quit, but just left. They were like, okay, new direction. We're gonna reboot the franchise. So, because he didn't like where it was going, Spider-Man 4. They had all this concept art, all these ideas, but eventually they put some of that stuff into Spider-Man 4. So here we are with Spider-Man 4, my boys. Especially after the Raimi movies, Hunter LaSalle. How do you feel about this movie? Like rewatching it again after the fact, after these Raimi movies, how do you feel about the Amazing Spider-Man?
Yes. So I think I watched the movie this morning, and I think it had a great effect on my viewing of it, because we're watching it strictly like right after the Raimi movies. And at first, in the first like probably half hour, I was missing the Raimi movies, man. I was like, these are so, like, this movie is so different. Like the tone just like such a Debbie Downer, and Raimi's movies are like fun and campy and like kind of corny, but they still have some heart. But by the end of this movie, I took it for what it is, and I liked it. I didn't love it. It's not like my favorite. I don't even know if it tops any of the Raimi movies, but I liked it.
Interesting.
It's fine, Nick.
It's fine.
It's fine. Yeah, cool. Those are my like initial thoughts. It's fine.
Interesting. So Patrick, you've seen this movie only once, right? In theaters when it came out?
Once in theaters, my senior year of high school. That's when this movie came out.
Oh, so in a way, you were Peter Parker.
Yeah, in a way. Well, yes, I thought I was Peter Parker. I really
but
did.
Instead, you were what? The Lizard?
I was the Lizard.
I always thought I was Spider-Man. Well, I figured out that I was actually Green Goblin.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I saw it senior year. I remember going to the theaters with like such indifference with the movie already, as I loved Spider-Man growing up, like so much so that like when I was a child, I dressed up for Spider-Man as Halloween, because the series came out right in '94, right when I was born. So there was so much merchandise, so I got it all even before I remember. And we had face paint in this whole thing. And I went into school the next day and broke into the paints and painted my face like Spider-Man and got sent to the nurse. And I remember my mom picking me up saying, "You can't be Spider-Man every day, Patrick."
So in other words, your mom said to you, "Spider-Man, no more?"
Yep, exactly. Spider-Man, no more.
No more.
No more. So the Sam Raimi movies, like it was my first superhero. It was my first T movie. It was the only PG-13 movie I was allowed to watch as a kid, was that series. The Spider-Man 2 was my favorite video game. Still the best video game of all time.
Pretty iconic.
PS2. And I was really pumped I bought all the magazines for them describing the fourth, the Spider-Man Forever, whatever it was supposed to be called. So I was really pumped for this movie and looking forward to it. Especially with I love Black Cat and her relationship. I think it brings such an interesting dynamic. So, and
we still haven't really got that yet.
And we still haven't.
Black Cat shows up in Amazing Spider-Man 2, but she's not Black Cat yet. And they're like, "Oh, she's gonna be Black Cat," and it never happened.
It never happens. They do it really well in all the video games, though, I think.
Yeah.
Even the new ones.
The new one, especially. Yeah.
Yeah. But then we got this trailer, and I was so annoyed. I remember thinking it must have been announced in 2010, maybe 2011, that like Andrew Garfield was going to play. And I was pretty indifferent because he was British. And I knew he was British going into the movie. Well, now I got really mad, but I remember thinking like, Like,
Ugh,
submit.
British.
I know.
I'm joking. Yeah.
But
Or am I?
yeah. Even though I think I looked up now, he's like half American. I didn't know this. His dad's American, which
Oh, really?
makes more sense with his accent.
Okay.
But I remember,
Hello, I'm Spider
yeah,
Man.
exactly. Hello, I'm Spider Man.
Great
Yeah.
power comes great responsibility.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I remember going to the movie theaters and thinking, and I remember seeing the trailer come out and it changed my perspective because the trailer showed the scene, which I think is a great scene and the best scene in the movie when he saves the kid falling on the bridge and taking off the mask. I'm like, oh, they got it. They got friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, which they didn't get in the movie, but they got in that one scene. So it kind of put me up. And then I went to the movie and I thought it was, I thought it had a lot of potential. I was like indifferent. I thought he was like everyone's gripe with it when I was especially a senior in high school. I was like, oh, he's too cool to be Peter Parker. I already see him as a yeah, I don't see him as a underwhelming high school kid. He's already a pretty confident man at this point.
So you thought it was okay?
I thought it was okay, but I thought it had a lot of potential. I remember the last scene, like there was two scenes I remember before I rewatched it. It was and one of them was the last scene when you had the bulletin board of everything, of all the potential storylines. I remember leaving the movie like, oh, they have so many directions to go with this. I remember thinking, oh, this could be a TV show because there's so many different storylines they're throwing out there. And that was my thought leaving it. Like, wow, where are they going to go? It could be really cool moving forward now that he is Spider-Man, you know?
Right. Yeah. And I think ever since Spider-Man 3, that's kind of been the big, like, kind of problem with these Spider-Man movies. It's like, oh, there's so much we can do. But it's like, wait, slow down. Maybe, like, just, like, pick one thing first.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it's good, then you can do all this crazy shit. Or then you can do all these, like, amazing things with the character, with the universe of Spider-Man. But they always, like, kind of blow their load. I mean, this one obviously is, like, stripped back more than, say, like, Spider-Man 3. But even then, I don't know. Because, yeah, I have an interesting relationship with this movie. Because when I saw it in theaters as a kid, I didn't really have a lot of positive thoughts about the Raimi movies. I kind of talked about this before, but, like, how, yeah, I didn't really, like, have I didn't really grow up with them. They weren't fondly remembered for me. So going into this one, not really watching the other ones that much, maybe once or twice as a kid, but like watching this one, I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like, he's cool. I love it. And it's like Dark Knight, where it's like kind of grounded and realistic and edgy and all this stuff. And back then I was like, yo, this is fucking awesome. You know, like I was like, yeah, this is exactly what I want in a superhero movie. Now, watching it again, I'm like, wow, this is everything I don't want in a superhero movie. It's like, and there are some good things to talk about in the movie for sure. And I think we'll all agree there are some good moments in it that stand out. But I think for me, at least as a whole, it's such a just shrug of a movie, unfortunately, especially after the Raimi movies. It's just like, yeah, this one doesn't really have a lot of heart at all. This one doesn't have a soul, a vision. Mark Webb, I feel like they just got that guy because he had Webb in his last name. I don't know. He did 500 Days of Summer, which I haven't seen, but I heard is quite good, right?
Yeah.
I haven't seen 500 Days.
I have not seen it. No.
It's really good.
Apparently he can do like small scale like romantic movies, right? And so on paper that makes sense for Spider-Man, because we talked about this before, Hunter, but like even though all this crazy superhero stuff is happening in Spider-Man 1, 2, 3, really it's about the relationship between Mary Jane and Peter Parker. That's kind of the emotional core of it, and I think those movies do that relationship for the most part really, really well. And that's the focus. So like on paper, this is like, it's good to like have that focus again of Emma Stone's Gwen Stacy and Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker, and that's like the core, like their relationship, right? On paper, that's great, but in practice, the relationship is barely there for me. I know they were dating in real life at the time, but besides like a few like cute little moments, I didn't really feel their relationship as a whole, from a script level, from even a performance level. They're both great actors and actresses, obviously, but yeah, I just think this was just so dull and just so uninspired. And like everything to do with like the villain and like the parents and like, oh yeah, you know, Spider-Man, one of the most like, you know, one of the most human superhero heroes ever that we've ever had. And it's about, you know, like saving people, being steady, being a good person. Oh, let's focus on, yeah, who were his parents? Who cares? All we care about is Spider-Man. That's who we care about. And because they're so focused on other things, and like Oscorp, and the parents, and the spiders, and it's like, no one cares about that. No one cares about that. And they thought we cared about that. Because we've had, you know, these Raimi movies where it's like, oh, great, let's do something new. But like, this is like not the direction I don't think any superhero movie should go in. So I did not like this movie.
Yeah, I understand because the movie opens and it's like all about like the parents, and so I see what you're saying. Like
Yeah.
you even said it before. We watched it, but I was like, I don't care. Like it's cool that they mention them, and it leads to a pretty great scene with Uncle Ben and Peter, and he's talking about like, oh, like your dad was like all about responsibility, and then he's like, oh, but where is he then? Where is he? And I liked that, but yeah, I don't need them.
But it doesn't go anywhere in this movie. It's clearly like just trying to set up the next movie, and it's because the marketing at the time, if you guys remember, was like, "Oh, who are his parents? Like, you're gonna finally figure out the secret of Spider-Man." And it's like, I don't care about the secret of Spider-Man. The secret of Spider-Man is that he's a good person, and that we relate to him, and he's human, and that he struggles with personal stuff and superhero stuff. That's why we like him. He's for the people. That's it. Yeah. That's all we need to know. We've had 3 movies of that, and then this movie's like, oh, but wait, the parents, and it's like, I don't give a shit about that. The thing that we like is that like Uncle Ben is his father. Whatever happened to his real father, his biological father, happened. His father's Uncle Ben, and his father was taken away from him, and it was kind of almost because of him. And how is he going to deal with that? How's he going to day by day be better? That's what Spider-Man's about, and this movie, I feel like, doesn't really do that.
Yeah, I think Webb. I was just reading kind of like Webb's vision with this, and like Webb always, even in 500 Days of Summer, he like presents like an overarching question and tries to answer it. And that's
who are Joseph Gordon-Levitt's parents, or
yeah, exactly. That's what they do in 500 Days.
Summer's parents. Who are they? I'm joking.
But like, I think like 500 Days of Summer was all about fate, and for this, what he was talking about is like who is Peter Parker, and how does one become Spider-Man with no parents? And I think if they would have, there was touches of them trying to play with that, but they didn't commit to it. Like,
exactly, because on paper that could be interesting. Yes,
because like even like I was reading, they cast Martin Sheen as Uncle Ben, trying to make him more blue collar and not relate to Peter, because Peter's the Parkers were more intellect. And I was like, and like you could see that fight almost there, but they didn't commit to it.
That's such a good point, Patrick. Yeah, because it's there if they wanted to really play with it, like blue collar, you know, everyman versus like, you know, high and mighty, like intellectual types. Yeah, absolutely,
exactly. And like we if we look at that scene, even when the water's bursting underneath, and like Peter knows exactly what to do, and Uncle Ben is still trying to figure it out. If we would have made a conflict right off the bat, like I don't connect with Uncle Ben and Aunt May like as Peter Parker, like. And even if it's different, at least that conflict would have, I don't know, answered the vision of the movie, Webb's question. Better.
Absolutely, and I think actually I have the opposite reaction with you. I have the opposite reaction that you have, Hunter. when it comes to the first 30 minutes. I actually kind of like it, and then it becomes like superhero schlock, and it's like, oh, then why do I care? Like, why did we build this up just to not do anything with it? And clearly, and you know, there's been so many stories now about this, but like clearly this movie was chopped up to bits, editing wise. There were things, a lot of deleted scenes that were cut. You know, they're on the cutting room floor. You know, with Kurt Connors, and we'll get into like each individual like character and performance very very soon. But like, yeah, there's so many things that like they filmed and just never, and it's just not in the movie.
Yeah, you can tell too. You can
Obviously, you could clearly tell.
Specifically with Dr. Connors. I felt like I got it, you know what I mean? I get what he wanted to do and stuff like that, but I feel like him as a person was like it was
Yeah,
lost.
who are you? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I know it has nothing to do with that actor because that actor is fucking great. And so it's like, all right, what happened here?
Right, like something clearly happened behind the scenes. Mark Webb clearly didn't make the movie he wanted to make. Sony interfered. And so we were talking before about this last episode about like Sony interfering, and this one I think it's just getting worse.
Oh well, there's Peter Parker pulls out his phone and it's like a Sony phone, and I was like, oh, is it a Sony movie?
But the bad guys don't have Sony phones and computers.
No, they do not.
No, they do not.
Nope. I thought that was so hilarious when he pulls out the Sony phone. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, just fucking punch me in the face with it.
I know. Even when he's like, I thought when he was playing the game on his phone, I always remembered it as Words with Friends because I was such an iPhone. And then it like turned on and was like the dumb brick. I was like, right, it's a Sony phone, and they're playing a silly Sony game, you know?
Yeah. Also, Patrick, you mentioned that like he's too cool to be Peter Parker. I totally got like when the jock was picking on him, and then like he was like scared to talk to Emma Stone or whatever. I was like, bro, you're like you're way too attractive to be like, oh god, oh geez.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the movie starts with just like him not even really being bullied. It has to be another kid being bullied, and he's like, hey, I got you. It's like, yeah, it just does. It's not very believable.
You know what it is? It's not even like, people always bring up, oh, he skateboards, he takes whatever, he's good looking, but there are plenty of like uncool, good looking skateboarding camera, like photo taking kids in high school.
Yeah.
What is he's already confident. He's confident from the start with standing up to Flash, with talking with girls. He already like oozes confidence.
Exactly, because in the Tobey Maguire movies, there's so much weight to like him like progressing and being better and being a little worse with some things when he's first starting out.
Yeah.
And it's like, ooh, it's interesting. Like we're actually taking the time to do all this stuff. But in this movie, it's like, all right, he's got powers now. He's gonna bully Flash Thompson for a little bit, you know. And it's just like, then where are we leading to? Where he's just kind of stagnant. Like he's just here the whole movie almost.
Exactly. And if Webb wanted that Peter Parker arc of like finding being a quote unquote like grown up or a man with Spider-Man, like growing up as Peter Parker, starting with that confidence, it doesn't, like you said, it just isn't even plane. There's nowhere to move.
Yeah, I think in some parts that works because like you start to, I mean, even though this isn't who Peter Parker is, and that there's a problem with that movie in that way, but like I don't know, he's just like a cocky little shit. And like even like the not my policy thing, like that almost works.
Yeah, because Tobey Maguire was like that too. It's not like Spider-Man can't be like, you know, flawed or he can't be like, you know, selfish or like, yeah, what you said, like kind of like a cocky little shit. But like,
and then I think in this movie, it's just a different interpretation other than the Raimi movies where it feels like it's a little bit more heart to it because it's like, oh, he's just like a nerd, you know what I mean? That like wants to be a good person and wants to do the right thing. Whereas Andrew Garfield's like, I don't fit in, but I'm cocky,
and he acts like a villain the whole movie.
Yeah, and that's
which is weird.
It's like I gotta learn how to do the right thing now because I have. You know what I mean?
Because the lizard is turning people into lizards.
It's way different. Super
And also
strange.
Dennis Leary hates me. So let's
Also,
talk.
Dennis Leary's in the movie.
Yeah, he's also in the movie, and we'll talk about him
Didn't remember that.
soon. I know, I had to remind y'all. But before Andrew Garfield was cast, let me just go over all the actors who were considered for the role. It's quite a big list, so I'm just going to kind of list them all. So Taylor Lautner, Josh Hutcherson, which could have been maybe okay.
My vote's with Josh, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Yeah.
I like him, but
You know, I'm glad he did hit record, so it's fine, right?
I mean,
he's fine, right?
I mean, if you even in 2012, he was in Batman. I mean, like,
That's right. That's true. He was still he still had a pretty decent career.
yeah,
wasn't he
but
supposed
like,
to be Robin?
picture him like he's a muscular cop. Like that's, I don't know,
yeah.
I think it could have maybe worked. I don't know. Maybe I haven't seen that much from him, but I think it could have worked. Maybe. Robert Pattinson, funnily enough. Logan Lerman, Jamie Bell, Daniel Radcliffe. I think that would have been interesting.
Mm.
That would have been an interesting choice.
Michael
Logan
Cera.
Lerman
Oh, sorry.
Logan Lerman also would have been an interesting choice. I would have liked.
Yeah.
To see that.
Michael Cera, which no.
No.
Alden Ehrenreich, Han Solo himself.
Yes, that's my pick.
Yeah.
That's my pick. Yep.
Zac Efron, no. Aaron Taylor Johnson, maybe.
I could see him more as like a Harry Osborn.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Yeah, I think he could do a good Harry.
When was Kick-Ass? What year was that?
I think that was 2010,
2010. Okay.
Somewhere around there.
somewhere
Yeah.
around there.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was already being a superhero. Xavier Samuel, Jim Sturgess. Some of these names.
Oh, Jim Sturgis.
Oh yeah, I know who that is.
He's from Across the Universe.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
That would have been interesting.
Drake Bell. Moving on. Liam. No. Liam Akin. Anton Yelchin, which I think that would have been a good choice.
Ooh.
Anton Yelchin would have been great.
Yes.
And I don't know if he was ever seriously considered, but at the time, Donald Glover was heavily pushed by fans and by people on the internet, like, oh no, he should be Spider-Man. Now he can't. Now, like if they somehow did another reboot, he couldn't do it now. But at the time, I think he would have been a great. I don't know if race bent Peter Parker or Miles Morales. I would have been fine either way with whatever they did. But he would have been a good Spider-Man. He does show up in Spider-Man Homecoming, a movie we will discuss later. Andrew Garfield. So how do we feel about his performance overall?
I like him. I like him as it. It's a different interpretation. It's not anywhere near Tobey Maguire. But I think Andrew Garfield is pretty great in almost everything I've seen him in. I've never seen Andrew Garfield be bad. So, and he made me feel some stuff where I probably, if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have with this movie. But yeah, I really liked him in it.
Cool. Yeah, I love him. I love Andrew Garfield. We just watched Tick Tick Boom a week or so ago, and he's amazing in that movie.
Yeah.
If he doesn't get an Oscar nomination, I'm gonna become the Green Goblin. Or I'm gonna become the Lizard. Hiss. Oh wait, no, I'm gonna become the Lizard. I'm gonna become the Lizard. Poor Peter Parker. Remember when he said that? That was hilarious. But yeah, so he's an amazing actor. He was great in like Hacksaw Ridge. He was amazing in Social Network, obviously. Fuck You Flip Flops. And you know, like he is an amazing actor, and I think out of all the Spider-Man actors we've had, he probably has the brightest career ahead of him. He already and you know what I mean, like he has a future. Like he's one of those actors that you know he's gonna be constantly working. That's how good he is. Like, he's just amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could say that about Tobey Maguire's not doing much anymore. And Tom Holland, I don't know. He'll play Nathan Drake for a movie, but I don't know what else is he gonna do with his career. I don't know. But I love him though. I love Tom Holland. But yeah, so Andrew Garfield is great, but he's not a great Spider-Man to me. I don't think it's his fault. I think he was clearly very passionate about the role. He loved the comics as a kid. He loved the character since he was like 3. So he was very excited to do the movie. Like, he was preparing. So, like, he studied the movement of spiders. And so, like, with, like, when he's Peter Parker, he wanted to, like, emulate those movements in some way. And I think that stuff really works when it's just, like, him, just, like, doing his thing. And I think, like, yeah, there's a bit of a charm to him. He's too cool, but I don't know if that's his fault necessarily. But, like, yeah, he's too cool, and he's attractive. But, like, that shouldn't be the problem necessarily, that he's too attractive. Yeah. It's really just that he's too cool. Yeah, I think you hit it on the head, Patrick.
Confident.
Yeah, too confident, too sure of himself. Like, obviously he has some moments of like, but like for the most part, he's like, yeah, I got this. I'm gonna find Uncle Ben's killer, and like I'm gonna become Spider-Man. Yeah, that was nice. Saving that kid, it was nice. So there's not a lot of struggle and conflict with him in his performance and in the script. So like, I think that's where my troubles lie, where it's just like, once again, very stagnant. Character arc or characterization, performance, whatever. I love him though, and I don't think he's a bad Spider-Man. I just think he's in a bad Spider-Man movie.
I think it doesn't fit. I think that too. Like, if they made a movie of the PS4 Spider-Man, I think Garfield would kill that role as the 28-year-old already established, going through like, should I be with this girl? Should I'm dealing with all this? I've already had an affair with Black Cat. All this fun stuff. You're right. An already established, Peter Parker man. I think.
Yeah, I think that's that's it, because like they were going to do Spider-Man 4, right? And then they scrapped it and like, okay, reboot. But like now he's like back to square one, right? The character in this new franchise. But it's like, yeah, maybe if they, I don't know, obviously not literally continue the Raimi movies, but like maybe just like get him to a place where he's already an established Spider-Man. Yeah, maybe that would have worked better.
Yeah, and I think we're also like in 2012 we're becoming less forgiving of older actors playing high school students.
Right.
It's even with Emma, like we already have seen them in years past, like in The Social Network, already a college student with Garfield, and then with Emma Stone with all these high school movies. They felt so much older. I remember watching in high school being like, oh, they're not high school students. And I think in the Sam movies we forgive them because they move forward so quickly out of high school.
Exactly. They're technically 18. They're just about to graduate high school, and so like you forgive that a little more. But they're literally 17 seniors in high school. Yeah.
One of the last scenes is in high school in a classroom, and you're like, oh.
Also, like one of the big fight basically takes place near the lockers, and I thought that was like, why like you guys were saying, like the Raimi movies, like they move past it already in the second movie. Like MJ's on Broadway, and so like
MJ's on Broadway doing a weird one woman show.
But in this, like they're fighting the whole, like most of the fights are in high school.
Yeah, well, and obviously later on the MCU Spider-Man stuff, like that's fine because he could pass as a teenager, and like it feels like an authentic high school experience, which we'll get into. I know you haven't seen those movies, Hunter, but yeah, with this one, it just feels so off.
Yeah. What do you guys feel about Martin Sheen as Uncle Ben?
So obviously he's not nearly as good as Cliff Robinson. In the Raimi movies, he's the perfect Uncle Ben. He always will be. I mean, like I can't see any other actor being as perfect. But I don't know. We'll see. But Tobey Maguire, No Way Home. Anyway. So, but I like Martin Sheen as Uncle Ben. I don't once again, there's really no weight to when he dies. I felt absolutely nothing, which you have to feel kind of everything when he dies, and that just didn't happen. I think part of it is because, and we'll get into it a little later, but like the death scene doesn't work. I think it's so awfully edited, and so like, what just happened? Did he like he ran towards the gun? But we'll get into that. But like, I like what you were saying before, Patrick, about like blue collar Uncle Ben. Obviously, Uncle Ben was pretty blue collar in the Sam Raimi movies, but they really like focus on that more. Like, hey, let me fix this. Hey, you want to come downstairs and fix this thing with me? Yeah. You know, the water or whatever. And it's like, yeah, that's interesting. I like that kind of like push of a more blue collar Uncle Ben and everything. And that like he isn't perfect. He isn't like this like, hey, it's all right, Peter. Just got to keep steady. He's a little bit like, hey, what the hell, Peter? What is that? What'd you do? Why'd you do that? And it's like, okay, that's interesting. That's a different interpretation of Uncle Ben. He's not this perfect guy. He gets a little angry at Peter, or he's like, hey, why'd you talk to Aunt May like that? Apologize. Be a man. And it's like, cool. Interesting. But yeah, he's barely in it. And not to say that he needs to be in the whole movie, but yeah, I think it comes with the editing and the way it's done. The execution is just so like he was there and now he isn't, and I don't feel much.
Yeah, that death scene was like, I literally said, "What, you fucking idiot, Uncle Ben? What are you doing?
You did this to yourself." And that's also like the thing, like the Sam Raimi movies. It's like, ooh, it's kind of sort of Tobey Maguire's fault. It's sort of Peter Parker's fault, and that's the big like, ooh, like, you know, it's complicated. But with this, it's like, this is Uncle Ben's fault.
Yeah.
So I guess my uncle was an idiot. Anyway, you know, he has nothing to learn. He has nothing to learn.
You just gave Peter a hard time about not picking up Aunt May for walking home in the dangerous streets, and you're just running around later at night in the dangerous streets.
That's literally what I thought. I was like, well, looks like Uncle Ben shouldn't be walking the streets at night alone. Okay?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, the problem really is you, Uncle Ben. But yeah, but I overall I like it, but once again, it just doesn't really mesh with everything. Everything seems just a little too off. Every performance to me, everything feels a little off. I know you guys like this movie more than me, so I don't know if you guys want to chime in with more like positive stuff or whatever. What other performances you want to maybe praise?
I don't know, praise. I just think
or say like good.
I just think there's like a little like more there's potential to be had. And like even with Martin Sheen's performance, I think like he wanted to go the blue collar route, and like
well, maybe in the next one he'll do better. Oh
yeah, maybe, right? But again,
Spider-Man. Maybe No Way Home.
How like
maybe No Way Home.
No Way Home, right?
Everyone's coming back for No Way Home. Anyway,
yeah.
Okay, fine.
But even like, have you guys listened to Sally Fields talk about her role when she did Stern?
A little bit, but elaborate. Yeah.
It's just essentially she's like, yeah, I did the role as a favor. It's a two-dimensional character, and there's nothing to her, and I hated it. And you're like, wow, well, that sucks, because there could have been this really beautiful thing, you know. It's especially if we have this, if the whole point is for Peter to be so disconnected from everyone. From his aunt, from his uncle, to help him propel himself into manhood or Spider-Man. Then it's too bad that it feels flat, her performance in it too.
Yeah, because on paper I like Sally Fields as Aunt May, and the Raimi movies showed that she's not a two-dimensional character, and so it's weird for her to say that, but also I totally get that like the material she was given was pretty like basic, so I get it.
Yeah, she didn't have too much to do. Like she was making tea all the time. I noticed.
Yeah, and bad meatloaf.
Making tea.
Yeah.
Bad
meatloaf, good meatloaf. I don't know.
Spiders
are hungry, you know.
It's a meatloaf that beats all other meatloaf. I didn't write it. They did.
I know.
They wrote that.
I know
didn't
Hunter
write
LaSalle.
LaSalle.
But yeah, LaSalle. So yeah, I don't have much to say about Sally Fields. Just like whatever. Sorry, sorry that you didn't like the character Sally. But
Emma Stone, however.
Emma Stone.
I thought
Okay,
was great.
let's get this out of the way. She's so freaking beautiful in this movie. My heart skipped a beat every time she showed up. But she's pretty good in it. I think she's probably my favorite performance in the movie. I think she has some of the funniest lines. Some of the most like charming moments is when they're like talking to each other. I think mostly because of her and her kind of like sarcastic wit about her. But yeah, she looks beautiful.
She does.
I think
and
it
when
like
she finds out. Or go
no,
ahead, Patrick.
oh Hunter, go for it. Yeah.
Oh well, I was just gonna say when she finds out that that Andrew Garfield or Peter Parker is Spider-Man, it is so funny. She's like, "Oh my god!" And then like they start kissing. I was like, "Dang, she thinks that's so hot, dude." That's so funny.
Like what a move! That is a move right there.
Smooth.
Hey, I'm Spider-Man. Come here.
Yeah.
Come here.
But
Yeah, wait. Come here.
come here.
But yeah, I like her though. I mean, like I don't know Gwen Stacy in this movie. I don't know her thoughts, her desires, what she wants. Emma Stone is really like giving it her all though, and I think the only reason I give the performance a pass is because I like her in the role. But I think from like a character standpoint, from a script level, it's just like I don't know who this character is. You know, people complain about Mary Jane, but at least like you get what she wants. You get her arc at least, you know, especially in the first two movies. Like she, you know, it's like Peter, like, you know, you helped me along, why can't you be there for me? And that's such a nice engaging thing, even though she's a damsel in distress, whatever, which is clearly, you know, as problematic as that is, like this one tries to fix, because like she's helping Spider-Man with like, you know, the cure or whatever, right? And she's like going to the lab and she's like kind of fending for herself with the fire or whatever. But it's just not enough still. Like I get that they want to like be better and like, okay, she's not a damsel, but like what are you doing? Yeah, you helped a little bit, but is that it? Like that's all that's really like that's being better with female characters, really?
She made the antidote.
She helped with the I don't know, the cure, the blue stuff. It's like that's it. Like there's no, because at least with Mary Jane there was like an emotional like help there, or like, you know, like her purpose wasn't just damsel. Like at least like, you know, there was an emotional core there. With Gwen, it's nothing. It's actually too practical. Like okay, she did this plot thing. That's it.
Yeah.
She hits the lizard with a trophy.
Yeah.
Doesn't stop him.
Well, she tried.
She tried. That's true.
You know, I think like for Gwen, it would have worked if they were younger. If they were younger actors.
Yeah.
Because I think for Gwen and Peter it was, because I just think it's like a Romeo and Juliet type of romance in the beginning, and it ends.
Yeah, it's horny as all hell.
It's horny as all. It's all about sex, baby, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like,
I think with like younger looking actors, it would be more like cute, like this is a sweet, you know, endearing romance.
Everyone gets that in high school of like having this unrequited love for someone, and you like Romeo and Juliet, right? They don't know what to do with themselves, but they make everything about it, even though you're like,
Right.
You're gonna grow up so fast and realize it's so silly. And especially because it works with Gwen Stacy too, I think, because a lot of like fans know her demise, right? What's going to happen.
Actually, that's kind of the only thing people know about her character is that she
exactly.
dies, which isn't great. And thankfully, they kind of fixed that later on with like Spider-Gwen, and like she's like her own hero in the multiverse, which is like, hey, that's something at least, instead of just, hey, I know this character because she dies. She's fridged, and that's not great.
No.
But I do hear you though, Patrick, about like you could have played more with like maybe some of the more positive attributes of that character in the comics.
Yeah, I think 100%. But
Yeah, but you know, Emma Stone is once again, it's kind of cute in some moments. It's a little charming. Her performance, I don't mind all that much. And once again, Andrew Garfield, I don't mind. Really, it's more just like characterization. Because yeah, there's a few moments that I like the both of them like together, or like, you know, their own scenes. You know, like, you know, when he's saving the kid, for example. I don't think it's a very good scene, but I like him in the scene when he's being nice with the kid, like, hey buddy, it's all right, hey, just put on the mask, it's all right. Like, that's cute. I mean, I think the way the scene is like edited is so weird, like with the fire in the background, clearly CGI, and it's like the kid in slow motion just going like and it's like but on paper it's so good, like him like saving a life, and that's his kind of turn to like being a, you know, like a hero instead of just like a vigilante trying to get Uncle Ben's killer, you know, like that kind of turn would have worked so well, and on paper it does. I just don't think the scene's all that great. But talk about the scene. I know you guys like it, so you know, go ahead.
I like, yeah. I don't have really any like complicated thoughts on it though, but I liked it. I didn't have a problem with it.
Very good, Hunter. Great, Patrick.
I throw in my 2 cents.
It's one of my favorite scenes in all Spider-Man movies.
Okay.
Actually, because it shows friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Because I'm with the community. I save the individual, and I do this. And the mask is just to protect. But I'm just a normal guy. And when I saw that in the trailer, I was like, oh, they got the vibe, right? It's the same thing with like in Spider-Man 2 with the train scene, right? I'm part like he's one of us. He's just one of us. And like, that's what I love about the scene. And I think that's at least in the newer movies, I feel like they don't even have that type of scene quite yet. Where he's just one of us. And at least this movie tried to do that. And it helped justify the crane montage at the end of the movie.
Do you like that montage? Do we like that montage? The crane stuff? Because I feel like that's just like the Raimi movies again, but worse.
Yeah. It's a little gimmicky.
But that's a great point, Patrick, about that scene. I don't. Maybe I'm shitting on it a little too much, but yeah, I do like that he saves an individual in that scene. I think that's a really key moment of just Spider-Man in general. So I'm glad they did that. That's true.
Yeah, it is interesting though, because we have that moment where he's friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and then we have right when he gets bit by the spider, he's beating up New Yorkers on the subway.
Yeah.
Oh, did you guys notice when he's fighting the guy, he's black, and then like one editing trick later, he's a white guy?
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
Pissed me off. Yeah.
And I was like, whoa.
What? Did you
scared him white?
Did you hear where the train is going? Did you notice that?
No.
It goes, next stop, Coney Island. Like, why is he going to Coney Island? He lives in Queens. Why is he on the queue to Coney Island?
You're going downtown, buddy. You gotta go up.
You're going so the wrong way.
Where are you going, Peter?
Well, asleep. It was like, why is he going to Coney Island? There's no scene in Coney Island. There's no part of I was just like, it bugged me so much.
That's something I thought about this movie that I love about the Raimi movies. It's so New York, right? Like they almost like it's like a character in itself. This movie, I was like, this could be fucking anywhere.
Which, funnily enough, they actually filmed the whole movie in New York as opposed to the other ones. But this one feels less of a New York movie.
It's so crazy. Weird.
Yeah.
Weird as hell. Movie magic.
Like even they tried with the crane, and maybe they should have. I thought it was weird they cast C. Thomas Howell as like the crane guy, like Jack, because it's such a no. They shouldn't have used such a known actor. Because for me, I was like, oh, he's too big. He has to come back.
Oh, the dad.
The dad, yeah, he's
Oh, yeah.
he was like in the Outsiders.
Yeah, he's
the
Pony
main
Boy.
character. Yeah, Pony Boy. Yeah, and so I knew he was gonna come back later in the movie, but if it would have been like a true like unknown New York guy, maybe it would have made that crane scene work a little better.
Yeah,
Now,
totally.
I will say something that it's not entirely true with the Raimi movies, but like it works for some reason. I feel like this movie, it's like such a stacked cast, if that makes sense. Like there's so many famous, like even like with Pony Boy being the random New York guy. It's like that's so weird. Whereas like in the Raimi movies, it just felt so real because like I don't know, like Uncle Ben. Like I bet you that actor's in a lot of things, but I don't know. So it's like it.
Right, I hear you. Like they're not so recognizable that you're like, well, Willem Dafoe is like a big like actor at the time.
Yeah, see that's why I said it's not entirely true, but for some reason,
But for a lot of those roles, you're absolutely right.
yeah, like
You guys said something interesting in your podcast about the room about it felt like an independent movie. And I think you're right on the money, Hunter. Like this felt like a big blockbuster. Like I'm gonna heavy hitters in each role and try to make it a blockbuster.
Which is funny because Mark Webb started out doing smaller movies like 500 Days of Summer. So him doing this one, I mean, I think this is just the perfect example of like when people complain online or whatever about like, you know, they just get these indie directors for these big movies to use them. I think this is like the perfect example of that, in my opinion.
yeah, no, it is. It's like, and I'll use the Uncle Ben comparison. In the Raimi movies, I'm like, oh, he could be my uncle. He could. I'm like, that's Martin Sheen.
Right.
No matter how great Martin Sheen
That's
is,
Sally Fields as Aunt May.
yeah, yeah, and it's like he's a fantastic actor, but in this, it's like, well, he's Martin Sheen, so I don't believe it.
And they kind of, and you know, people have said this, you know, so much, but like, you know, they dance around the quote, with great power comes great responsibility, and it's like, I get in a way that you don't want to just like do that. But honestly, like if you show like Batman's parents being killed every Batman movie, like you can say with great power comes great responsibility again. It's like that. It's just that iconic. It's like Hulk smash. It's like you just say it. It's fine. Everyone, all the iterations say it. It's fine. Or they should anyway. They should.
It's timeless.
It's timeless. So just say it.
Yeah.
That's my hot take, I guess, of the line with great power comes great responsibility. Yeah. Just say it.
Say
you
it.
Fuckers.
Mix it in.
I love MCU Spider-Man, but like it's the same kind of thing. Like he dances around that quote, and it's like that one works a little better, and I think we'll get into it more with his movies. But like with this one, it's just like just say it, motherfucker. You know you want to.
Yeah, they definitely want to. They're like, should we not? Should we save it for the voicemail?
Yeah.
What do you guys think of the imagery of the movie? Like I think in Sam Raimi's movie, there's so many iconic stills of the movie, and in this one, it just feels like they were trying so hard to capture that iconic, like him sitting doing homework or him breaking the backboard. I don't know. What did you guys think of that?
I felt like it was trying to. I'll go with the breaking the backboard, and then like when he slams the door, the glass breaks. I don't know. I felt like it was trying to be like a bit that wasn't necessarily funny. It was just kind of awkward and weird, and made him seem like an asshole. If that makes sense.
Yeah. No. Totally.
Yeah. Like
I totally agree with you.
Especially when he slams the door and the glass breaks, and then he turns around for a second and then walks away, and I was like, "You dick." Jesus. But that's how I feel about that.
Yes, I mean you said it perfectly, Patrick. Yeah, the Sam Raimi movies, it's like a painting almost, those frames, man. And I love how idiosyncratic they are. Mm-hmm. And yeah, and this one is just like flat, dull, lifeless gray, and it's like, oh, fuck you. It's just like, this is not what I want in superhero movies right now. Oh my god, and this is like totally like that trend. It started with like after Dark Knight, everyone was like, "Oh, that's what these movies should look like. They should look realistic and dark and gritty and gray and gray and gray and gray and gray." And it's like, no, and some superhero movies work that way. Like the Dark Knight movies look great because that's Batman. Like not to say they should be like totally lifeless and dull, but like, that kind of works a little better with Christopher Nolan's world. With Spider-Man, it should never work. It should never work like that. Like there should always be some color to it and more like more of an optimistic kind of aura about it visually and spiritually, and yeah, with Spider-Man, he should literally never be dark and gritty like that. It's so silly. Well, how do you guys think of the suit?
I liked it. I don't like it as much, obviously, as Raimi's suit. I love that. That's just iconic. This one, I was like, oh, it's cool. It looks slick. It looks like, I don't know, it looked nice. Yeah, but it's not as classic as like Tobey Maguire.
I like the idea of him like making his own suit he made his suit last time too, but like this one like looks like so much like he just like took a basketball and made it the head or whatever. So on paper, like that stuff is cool and different. It just looks so dumb.
Yeah,
it just doesn't look good. I mean, like it just looks so like dark and just like you can barely see it, like it because he's always like standing around in the dark because that's Spider-Man, right? Standing around in the dark. But anyway, but like like he like you can barely see it anyway. So like it's just so like, then why'd you even make the fucking suit? We can't see it. It's so dark and edgy and gritty, and I can't see it.
I think it would have even if we would have just got a dumb kid playing this role, it just would have justified that suit too even more. Like, oh yeah, he's trying to like put together this half like dark suit trying to be cool, and you're like,
right,
all right, like I'm with it. I don't like it, but I see that it's a progression, that it has to start, because even with Toby's it was like, oh, he was doing the wrestler suit and then he evolved into a superhero, and we saw that. So for this, if it was a kid, like, and we established that as a Peter Parker growing, then I think the suit would have been a little more justified.
And I do like that he starts with like a really shitty suit with like the sunglass thing, and like I like that shot where it's just like his head and we're following his head just like going through the thing, going through the city or whatever, and we're just like doing that POV shot of just like his head and we're following the head. And I like that. And there's some visual things that I like about the movie. I like the final swing, for example. I think like especially when he's like the first thing he does in that montage at the end where he's like, he's on the scaffolding things and he does the thing, he pulls back and like, and he goes through all those.
The slingshot.
Yeah, the slingshot bit. Like I thought that was visually really cool looking, but as a whole, yeah, visually no. How do we feel about the web shooters? So obviously in the Sam Raimi movies, it was organic webbing. It was through his arms, and we talked about this. Like I didn't mind it so much because I grew up with that idea, but like I don't mind that like it's in him, the webbing or whatever. I think that kind of works with like, well, he is Spider-Man, so like if he is like a human spider, like he would do that. But it's more comic accurate to have him like make the webs, right? Like that, because he's so smart that like he's making it, right? So how do we feel as a whole about that?
I like it better with like the Tobey Maguire where it's already in him. I think that's really interesting and cool. I just don't buy it. I don't care how smart you are. Like I bet you could do it, but I just don't buy it, and it's not practical. You're gonna run out at some point, right? Or no? I don't know the logistics.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't either. I guess eventually he runs out, but yeah.
Yeah, I that's the reason I don't like it though. I'm like, well, that's stupid. Just make it in him so it's more realistic, I guess.
I think with sorry, I'll let you talk in a second, Patrick. Sorry. I think when it comes to, we talked about this before in Spider-Man 2 about like comic accuracy versus creative freedom. I think this is the case of like Yeah, it's okay to be a little free with it. Like, yeah, sure, he should just have organic webbing. I don't mind it as much in the Holland movies. I think because they actually like take the time, like explaining that more, and it feels more realistic. Also, because like the connection with Tony Stark in Homecoming and all that, like that, you don't mind it so much. But with this, it's like, one, how are you making it really? Two, you're not that smart. I don't feel like you're that smart. I know the movie's saying you're so smart and you write numbers on a fucking blackboard and it's like, whoa, you just did this crazy equation. And it's like, what the fuck is that? What did you just write? And I do like the moment when Kurt Connors and him are talking and he does like the thing and he's like, hey, like how'd you do that? And he was just like just touching his head, touching his brain, just like came from here. Right. And so that's a cute little moment. But like besides that, it's like, yeah, I just don't really buy it. Like once again, it's the beginning of the movie establishes like he's cool and he's fucking shredding on a skateboard and doing all this stuff, and it's like, wait, but also you're making webs. It just doesn't quite gel.
Yeah, I hated it when I first watched it back then. But I felt I was a little more forgiving to it now, just because of the MCU Spider-Man and him being so reliant on gadgets that it that annoys. And in the video games, they address it, so I was a little more forgiving. I just wish there was more trial and error. Like we just saw, we got like a 10-second montage of him, like of it not working. But even with Toby, we got more of him trying to figure out his powers.
Yeah, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man fails constantly, and but then when he does succeed, it's like, yes.
Yeah. So why couldn't his gadgets like fail at first? Like that would have been, and it would have made him a kid again. You know, I would just keep going back to this point. It would have been justifiable if they would have really leaned into being the 16-year-old or 17, however old they are in this movie.
Yeah.
Because imagine like fighting Lizard and it's not working for the first fight,
and you're a kid.
Not because
so
of the
scary.
Law, but exactly, and you're like, it would have been cool, you know. But
even in Spider-Man or in the Tobey Maguire ones, that he loses his powers at some point.
Yeah,
he starts to lose his powers, and it's like, oh, that's really interesting. It would be more likely for Andrew Garfield for that to happen because he made it himself.
Yeah, you can't do that now. You can't do Spider-Man 2 now because now it's webbing. So like, I don't feel like being Spider-Man. Oh, but I made this, so it's fine. So I guess it's gonna be fine for me. We can't do Spider-Man 2 ever again. But whatever. But the problem really is just that it doesn't gel for me. That's it. I mean, it just doesn't work. I'm fine with him making his own webs, and in a way that's kind of cool. Like, oh, he's not passive. Like, he's making the stuff too. Like, like it's all should be at least like super earned. Like this is all him and his accord and everything. But yeah, they just skim past it and nothing's felt. Nothing has weight to it.
Yeah, nothing has weight to it. It's just like a plot device, like to move forward. Like, now, and that's exactly right. Just doesn't have weight to it.
Yeah. So as a whole, like we started with like Andrew Garfield, school, Uncle Ben, Gwen Stacy. We kind of already mentioned all this stuff. So Uncle Ben dies. He goes to Oscorp and steals someone's badge. Fuck him. I hate him. And we play it for laughs, right? Like, oh, he stole the guy's badge, and look, the real guy's getting kicked out, and he's screaming. It's funny. It's trying to be funny, and it's like, no, that's such a shitty thing to do. And a lot of movies have done this, and I hate it. Every time. It's like, no. The main character is a terrible person for doing this. Why are we making the other guy, the victim, like the butt of the joke? You know?
Yeah. Also, wouldn't happen. You'd have to show your ID. I debunked it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't happen.
Wouldn't happen.
What happened?
Wouldn't happen. Sorry about it.
But yeah. So anyway, so like he goes to Oscorp, gets bitten by the spider, right? And there's like a million spiders. And of course, the story-wise, they're kind of like setting up like, oh, Richard Parker, he used to work at Oscorp, and I'm here like, I don't fucking care. Are you kidding me? Like, this is like the kind of like in universe, like, oh, this is canon. Like it's like the MCU. We're connecting so much. We're gonna set things up and pay them off later. It's like, I don't give a fuck. Are you kidding me? Like, this is so boring to me. Yeah, I'm like, okay. Anyway, can we see Spider-Man save a life? Like, that's what I like. Can we see Green Goblin, like, go, I forgot they mentioned Norman Osborn in this movie. I forgot that. He is already, like, a thing in the universe, which is fine. Like, that makes sense that he's a businessman, at Oscorp.
Yeah.
And he's, like, dying, and so, like, with Kurt Connors, like, the Lizard, he's just a guy with with one arm. And the guy comes in, and I forgot the actor's name, but... the guy that comes in, he's like, oh, Norman Osborn is sick. He's like a very famous Bollywood actor, and so like it was a huge
he's
deal.
in Life of Pi.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so it was like this big deal that he was in this movie, in India, I believe. And he's barely in it. He's like a lackey. He's just like a lackey guy that's like, well, we can't have Norman Osborn and be in this movie, so let's have this lackey guy come in and be like, hey, get Norman Osborn his cure. And it's like, who cares? Who cares about this? It's like, Norman Osborn, ooh. I don't care. Can we talk about this story? Can we do this story first? Thank you.
Yeah.
And it's like, then he disappears in that bridge scene, and we never see him again. There was a cut scene where like the Lizard takes him underground and like eats him. And it's like, where's that scene? We needed that scene. Where is that scene? So yeah, he's Spider-Man now. Emma Stone, they're sort of going steady now. Invites him to dinner, and we meet Dennis Leary. Before we get to Dennis Leary, how do we feel overall about Dr. Kurt Connors / the Lizard? Who's the actor's name is?
Oh boy, let me find it. It is. Oh gosh, Reese Siphons.
Every siphons.
Yeah, I was about to say it's a hard
It's
one.
a hard name. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do we feel about him in this movie? His performance, the character, yeah.
I like him. I like the actor. He's in Notting Hill, and he's also in The Replacements with Keanu. And so I kind of grew up with him being kind of like the funny guy. Seeing him do something serious is very interesting. But I liked him. I thought that they didn't give him a lot to do. He was just kind of like, I'm bad.
Yeah.
Or he's like, I want another arm, and it's like, what
Yeah.
else? Like, yeah, sure, I get it. That sucks, but like, but that's it. That's literally it. That's so surface level to me. It's like,
And
that's all. That's why you're becoming this bad guy, just because of that. I don't know. It just seemed like way too much for me.
Yeah, and that's very interesting. It's an interesting predicament, but let's add on to that.
Right. And there were cut scenes of him, like he had a son, and he talks to the son, like after school. All this stuff is cut, so that we can't, like, add that shit in. That's not the movie, that's the cut stuff. So we can't, like, be like, oh, but not in the movie, though, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And also, like, how much cut stuff is there? The movie's, like, almost 2.5 hours
Oh,
long.
get ready for Spider-Man 2, Amazing Spider-Man 2. There's even more cut stuff. Get ready, dude.
No.
Get buckle the fuck in, Hunter LaSalle.
Strap in, baby.
But anyway, I liked him. They didn't give enough for him to do, which is.
But you like the character?
I liked.
You like the actor, but do you like the character?
I don't know. That's the thing. It's like, all right, that he didn't do much. I was like, I don't buy it as like, oh, this is the main villain. So I guess not. I guess
No. So it's no. Okay. I figured it was. I just wanted to just say it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Patrick.
I thought the answer is no, but I think
Good.
I think the physicality of like his work with being one arm was really impressive. And same with Garfield. Like, we didn't really talk, but they worked so hard on their physicality of the characters. And reading that, you did research with like with amputees and working with that. I thought that was really cool, and you could see the physicality of it. But I mean, I don't want to bash his performance because he worked with all the cut stuff. So like that was his performance.
Right.
And like Connors is such a family person. That's his main conflict. And like the iteration of Lizard is like him, should I do this to save myself or be a family person? And that's his main like crux with it. So so we missed all of it. So it makes it one dimensional, and it doesn't make sense, his motivation to even turn the whole city into Lizard. I was lost when I watched it the first time. I was lost when I watched it now 10 years later. Yeah. I thought it was cool that they picked the Lizard. I remember thinking that when I saw it the first time, I'm like, oh cool, they picked the Lizard, which
because like what a great concept.
Yes. But kind of lame.
Yeah, it's just kind of lame for me too. It's just like clearly the worst villain we've gotten so far in these Spider-Man movies, because besides maybe like Venom, when he's Venom, but besides that, like Lizard is just like so nothing burger to me. It's just like such a generic, just like, I want to turn everyone into lizards, and it's like, why? You know, it's like we never get a real concrete explanation. He's just like, they're stronger, and it's like, that's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
I know.
That's it. Okay, great. And yeah, maybe with that content, we would have gotten, like, as I said, like with the son and everything, like, okay, family man versus, like, I don't know, duty or whatever. Duty. You know what I mean? The responsibility. And, you know, but yeah, we just get nothing. At least with Sandman, we got something. Sandman is not great, but like at least we got, like, he has a kid and he cares about the kid and the kid's dying, and it's like, that's something. That's an explanation. This is just like, oh, stronger? Lizards are stronger? I want an arm?
I can use chemicals when I fight Spider-Man. Whoosh, whoosh, throw, explosion.
That's right, you got webs, I got chemicals, baby. Oh, whoosh. Oh, whoosh.
High school chemical explosion. Blah.
I think the CGI kind of looks good. Some of it looks bad, but I think, like, it looks cool. I think when it's moving around fighting Spider-Man, it looks cool, but I can't say the action's good though. I mean, like, visually, yeah, like, okay, that's kind of interesting, but like the action scene with our boy Stan, great cameo, by the way. As much as I dislike this movie, I think it's a great Stan Lee cameo.
Yeah, top 5 Stan Lee cameo, I think.
Oh, absolutely, so funny. It's just so cute. It's like, yes, perfect use of Stan Lee. But anyway, but yeah, the action with him doesn't work. The characterization doesn't work. The performance, I'm sure, is good in those cut scenes. And I'm sure, I don't know if I've seen this actor in any other movie, but I'm sure he's a great actor and everything. But yeah, I just think it's just like such a perfect example of just like a dull superhero villain.
Yeah, and I will say too, like I laughed a few times.
With the camera, property of Peter Parker.
Well, that part I thought was dumb, but I laughed when he was pouring the chemicals. I thought watching a big old lizard guy like do stuff is really funny. Even like when he's on the top of the building or whatever, and he's putting the vial in the whatever. I was laughing because I was like, this just looks really fucking funny.
Also, anytime he like moved his mouth, it was funny to me. He's like, Peter Parker, and it's like, ew, get away from me. Yeah. I hope he's good in No Way Home. I hope he's cool, action-wise, spectacle-wise. Like, it would be so cool to get him right, and I hope in No Way Home they get him right. But yeah, that's really it. It's just like another, especially this character and performance, like such a big missed opportunity. And he talks to himself too, just like Green Goblin, just like Doc Ock, and it's like after the third time, really maybe even fourth, because Venom kind of does that too. It's the kind of back and forth thing. So like so many times we've done this, and this is like so uninspired. It's like a really poorly edited scene where he's talking to himself like in his head, and it's like this really rushed, like, okay, I'm a villain. I'm gonna go out and do villain things, and it's like we got there, but it was so rushed. It was just like it was clear that like they had other scenes. They cut it, and then they were like, "Fuck, we have this scene where he's walking around looking at his equipment. What are we gonna do? Oh, let's just have a stupid forced voiceover over the scene where we can have a way to just like, all right, move along. Like, okay, I'm bad now." Clearly, that wasn't the scene's intention. Clearly, that was in post. It's so bad. So let's talk about Dennis Leary now. So we have a few scenes with him. He's basically like J. Jonah Jameson in this movie. Like, he's against Spider-Man. He's like, oh, he's a menace. We don't have J. Jonah Jameson in this movie, by the way. They were really struggling with, like, do we just get J.K. Simmons back? Do we do someone else? Like, there was a while where they were thinking, like, oh, maybe Hugh Laurie. Because he was gonna maybe show up, J. Jonah, in the next one. That doesn't happen. They mention him. He does exist in the universe, that we just never see him, which is fucking weird. But yeah, so yeah, he's not in this movie at all. Dennis Leary is Captain Stacy, Gwen Stacy's father. So against him in the dinner scene, there's kind of a back and forth. It's like, I think he's a vigilante. Well, I think he's a hero. At this point, it makes no sense for Andrew Garfield to say that, because he's definitely not a hero at this point. There's no... Because at least, like, in the other movies, like, okay, he has a point, too, though. Both sides have a point. Yeah. Dennis Leary is the only one who has a point in that scene. He's a menace. He is a menace! He is just a menace.
Yeah, all his motivation is not for saving people. It's to find his uncle's killer.
He's honest to God a menace.
Yeah.
To society, to everyone. Oh man, this movie's a mess to me. Oh, guys, talk about things you like.
You know what? I think Dennis Leary plays a New York cop well. I'm gonna give it to him. He's the chief New York guy, and like that threw me back into the city at least. Like the snobby, like New York, like thinks he knows everything, like sergeant. And I'm like, okay, we're back in New York, we're doing the thing. So as much as like his maybe like his lines don't make sense, like at least he got that image of Stacy, I think.
There are things that I like I like
what?
The ending.
When it ended?
I like when it ends.
I liked when it ended too.
I like I think it's the last line, it's somewhere near the last line where don't make promises you can't keep, and then he goes, well, those are the best kind. And I was like, damn, he's such a cocky little shit, and he didn't
Fuck
learn.
You. We'll get into that soon. Holy shit, I'm so mad about that.
Like,
anyway.
Well, I understand why you're mad, but I like that because it's like, oh, it's like that makes
what sense? No, it doesn't.
No. It makes what happens in the next movie so much worse because it's like, it was avoidable, and I don't know. I like it when Peter Parker makes mistakes. I do. I like it.
I totally understand you saying that. I like when he makes mistakes too, but not at the end of the movie when it looks like it's a triumphant decision. You know? Like, that's the end of the movie. And you're making it look like, oh, this is great that he's doing this. This is a very, like, yeah, Spider-Man. And it's like, no, Spider-Man. Yeah. You know? It's like, stop. That's so selfish. And also, like, what does he learn then? He doesn't learn a thing. I said before, like, through the performance and mainly through the script and the characterization, stagnant, doesn't learn anything.
Yeah, I wonder if they really wanted to play it like that. Like, they wanted to play it up as like, yeah, because in my opinion, in my head, I was like, oh, this is sad.
Well, then they should have maybe did like what Spider-Man 1 did, where it's like a swing, but it's like kind of melancholic, and it's kind of like, all right, he's doing his thing now. You know, it's bittersweet. They should have done that then, because then right after that scene, there's this triumphant, swinging scene that looks visually pretty cool. But like, once again, it's like, it's demonstrating and illustrating through visuals something completely different than like what we just saw with like him making the selfish decision.
Then it's
Go ahead.
Aunt May's fault. Blame her.
It's all Aunt May's fault.
Terrible advice. If she knows, that's terrible advice. And of course, Peter Parker's going to take Aunt May's advice. Dude,
Yeah.
Peter Parker's a troubled kid in a tough world. All right, he's got tough decisions.
He's book
And you guys
smart.
are ragging
you
on
know?
him.
Look, all I'm saying is he's a menace.
I'm yeah, you guys are J. Jonah Jameson.
He's a
and I'm
menace.
freaking and I'm Uncle Ben. I'm Team Peter.
Team
Peter
Peter.
over
Poor Peter Parker.
Peter Parker.
Your Team Peter Parker. But
So what do you guys think about the final fight?
Lackluster for me. Yeah.
it's just every other superhero fight for me. It's just like they're on top of a thing trying to stop a thing.
Yep. I think I said this in Spider-Man 2, but I was like, oh, like usually with superhero movies, I'm like, all right, final fight. I know what's going to happen. All right. Spider-Man 2, I didn't think that. And now I'm back to thinking that again. I'm like, can we just get it over with, please?
Lizard should end this young Spider-Man's life, and I don't know why.
Right, that's the thing, because like with Doc Ock, we kind of mentioned, or I did anyway, in our Spider-Man 2 episode, like if it really just came down to a fight, I think Doc Ock would have won. But I think because Spider-Man is so empathetic and so like, I want to reach out to you, that's why he wins the fight. It's not a fight, but a battle of ideologies or whatever, right? Which is so much more interesting to me than just a fight. This is just a fight, and Spider-Man should have lost.
Yeah.
Because he's a little shit who wants revenge, but then it becomes a hero, I guess, by the end because of maybe a good scene with the kid and everything. But besides that, like there's not a lot of there's not a reason really besides that to like why is he a hero?
Yeah.
So he defeats the bad guy. Dennis Leary dies. He's like, don't tell Gwen. And we kind of mentioned this already, but yeah, the ending is all about him, like, oh, should I keep the promise of like, not interfering with Gwen's life anymore, putting her out of danger. And he decides, no, I still want to be with her. And so that's how the movie ends. We're going to swing. Birds, swing. The end. We'll leave it at that for now. That's Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah, I just think it's a bad movie, and it's such a unfortunate miscalculation to me. It's kind of the perfect example of like why do people hate superhero movies? You show them this movie and you kind of get it. And it's like I love superhero movies. I think at their best they're so either hopeful, optimistic, and they say something about the human condition in either optimistic ways or like really like tragic dark ways, like with Batman, and like optimistic ways like with Spider-Man and Superman and Wonder Woman, like all these things, but with this it just doesn't say all that much about anything, and that's why I hate it. Oh, and in the credits they have like a little tease, like, okay, so the Lizard's in jail, right? And got like this shadowy figure. He's got a trench coat. He's got a hat. He has a silly voice, and he's like, "Have you told him about his father?" And it's like, I don't care. And it's like we're setting up more shit about the dad and the mom and the Oscorp, and wow, they really want to do what Marvel's doing, and it's just like boring.
Yeah. Unfortunate.
Are you excited, Hunter, about finding out about his parents?
Yeah. Hunter, are you locked in?
Are you locked in about the whole parents
locked
thing?
in?
Yeah.
I am, guys.
Daddy Parker?
Daddy Parker?
Yeah.
Again, Daddy Parker. Again, I like this movie. It's fine. It's fine. I think I like it. The more I think about it, I think I like it just like that much more than Spider-Man 3. Because Spider-Man 3 to me
Really?
is
You like it more than Spider-Man 3?
I think I do. I think
Spider-Man 3 is a movie that is a mess.
Yes.
We could both agree it is a mess, but made me like tear up. I can't say that about this movie. It didn't make me feel anything. This movie made me feel nothing.
But we gotta. Sorry, keep going, Hunter.
No, yeah.
I think like this is an origin story though, right? And like like
no excuse. Spider-Man 1 made me cry like a bitch, and that's an origin movie.
okay, but like I said, Peter Parker's an adult at the end of Spider-Man. Like, he's still a kid. We end in the classroom, and we're left with 100 different plot devices. That's why I see this as like a pilot episode of a movie, of a 2-hour.
It should be a movie. It shouldn't be a
Well,
dull pilot episode.
Yeah, I get it, but I think it has more potential than we have to recognize that it made viewers want a second one, even if it like wasn't as strong as the Sam Raimi movies.
Yeah, I guess a lot of people wanted to know about Peter Parker's parents.
Again, it's different than the Raimi movies, where Patrick, like you're saying, like he's 16 years old, and like I feel like he doesn't know what like a hero is, and
But he's Spider-Man. He's got to know by when he's Spider-Man. That makes no sense.
He doesn't have to know.
Then what's the arc?
Huh?
Nothing, because it's a pilot episode.
No, I don't think that he has to know what a hero is by the end of the first movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
When he's a hero?
But
people call him a hero when he's considered a hero. He should know.
But listen, he's a hero by accident.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really compelling storytelling right there.
Listen,
I'm a hero.
Oh man.
No, but listen.
I know. We're getting into it.
No, but listen. All right. In the first few minutes of the movie or whatever, he tries to save the kid that's getting bullied. So he has it in him, but now he has all of the he has the ability.
I shouldn't wait for another movie to have a satisfying conclusion. The movie itself should be, even if it's not a complete character arc, it should be already a satisfying conclusion. Makes a wrong decision, makes a selfish choice, whatever. But it has to be something. It can't just be wait for the next one when we find out who Peter Parker's parents really were. It's who cares? It's so boring.
See, that's not why I like the movie. I'm
not saying that's why you like the movie, but I'm just saying that I'm so confused why you like that arc then of the Peter Parker thing.
Yeah, I think Patrick, I think you put it pretty good. It's like a pilot episode. It's like there's these. It's like planning for an arc to grow out of.
I was more intrigued with him finding Uncle Ben's killer at the end. That I remember walking out of the theater because I actually hate how they did it in Sam Raimi's movies. I think it was lazy and stupid, and that was the biggest fault. And when I left that movie and they showed the picture, I was like, "Oh, that's gonna be sick if he gets and he goes and kills Uncle Ben's killer." That's what I was looking for.
But Spider-Man doesn't kill
in a second. Well, he doesn't know he doesn't kill yet.
But that's the whole thing. You guys keep saying oh, he doesn't know that yet. He doesn't know this yet. And it's but that's not what Peter Parker and Spider-Man's all about. It's not oh, we'll get to that later. It's no, let's get to it now. You know what I mean? It's this is the MCU talking oh, this is it's all right. It'll be better later. That's not a good thing to me. It's not oh, well, we'll just maybe it'll be better later. That's I don't know.
I just don't want.
I feel we're all abused housewives right now, just going oh, maybe he'll be better next time.
Well, I think it's interesting to see.
Maybe he won't hurt me this time.
Well, you know what I mean. I think it's interesting to see if he finds out what a hero is, because it's
I can't wait for him to find out. It's you see what I mean though. It's oh, I can't wait to find out next movie.
Yeah, I feel
but it should be already this movie.
Peter Parker didn't read the comments about the comics about Peter Parker, so he doesn't know. You know what I mean? He doesn't know. This is his origin story. So
I get it being an origin story, but the origin story, the point of having an origin movie is he starts from one place and goes to another. If he's just stagnant, why did we watch the movie?
I don't think he's stagnant.
You can't defend that.
I don't think he's stagnant though.
Really? What did he learn? Besides, saving people from Lizard.
I don't think it's what he learns. I think it's.
Then that's not a good character arc.
Well, Nick,
he's got to learn something.
He does. You can't say it. He does learn a little bit. He does love himself a little more than he
Great. The really confident Peter Parker likes himself a lot more. Great.
Yeah, well,
No, I know. I hear you though. I hear you. I mean, obviously, I'm joking a little bit, but yeah. Obviously, he learns like a couple of things. Like it's not like he learns absolutely nothing, but it just seems none of it has weight, and none of it seems like it's really affecting him all that much. Which is why I'm saying like he's so stagnant.
Also, I think it might be a little bit more realistic that like a guy that is all right, so he's a nerd, he doesn't get the girl, he doesn't do all this stuff, and now he's finally like it almost seems like he has it all, right? He's got
It's kind of the Man of Steel argument where it's like, oh, well, he'll be Superman in the next one, and it's like, look, I get like making your heroes flawed and making them, you know, like make mistakes, but like once again, Tobey Maguire, like he was flawed, he made mistakes, but like at the end. It was a movie with a beginning, middle, and end. A character arc where we got from one place to another. You know, this is not a movie to me. This is like the worst like kind of example of like these kind of franchise films where it's just like, oh, we'll do cool stuff and iconic stuff, or not even iconic stuff, just like we'll do the stuff you want to see in the next one. We promise. It's like, that's so boring.
all right. I do see what you're saying.
Okay, at least you see what I'm saying. You see what I'm saying.
No.
Okay.
I think I agree with you a little bit. And I think if amazing again, I don't know what I'm going to think about it the next one this time around. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see. I mean, I know you've seen it already, but I'll be interested to see like, you know, if you'll be like worth it, or you'll be like, oh my god.
I think if we travel back to 2012, because again, I saw this movie in theater,
and you know what? I did like it as a kid. And exactly. I think because part of my brain like tricked me into thinking, oh, they'll do better next time. It's okay, they'll do better next time. And that's delusional.
But again, I don't think we should let the Raimi movies taint our perception of
I'm not even really comparing the Raimi movies so much. It's more just like I want you to tell a story, and it's not real. It's telling like maybe half of one.
I can yes I see,
okay.
I see that, and I think if the second one, like let's just imagine a world where everybody
where the second one's not out yet,
or even like imagine a world where the second one is out yet and it freaking killed. It was so good. Oh, then this movie is so good. You know what I mean?
I don't know if that would be the case though. Even if we got an amazing Spider-Man 2, I don't know if I would just be like, oh, that's better. Like, boring start, but then it got better.
I remember when I first saw it thinking like this should have been a TV show. That's still my thought, is like this arc works for a CW Spider-Man 16-year-old show of like there's so many of these plots, where are they gonna go? You're right, it doesn't really work as a movie, right? It falls short of a movie because they don't connect enough things. But do I still find parts enjoyable, and am I still intrigued to see where they go? Yes.
Okay, so you're intrigued with like what, like the Gwen Stacy stuff?
I'm intrigued. Like I said, I'm intrigued with finding Uncle Ben's killer, because that was what he was trying to do before.
I see. Taking Spider-Man 2 out of it, Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, is he going to find Uncle Ben's killer?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. I think as a kid, I was intrigued about that too. I think as a kid, I was like, "Oh, is he gonna find out?"
Especially because with Spider-Man 3, we were left. I was left unsatisfied by that whole like Uncle Ben's killer Sandman type of.
Yeah, well, I didn't really like that stuff either in Spider-Man 2. So I thought that was a silly retcon.
Yeah, exactly, and like. I was like, with the star tattoo, like that's what excited me about the next movie. And then, of course, it just went to shambles.
Yeah, nothing happened.
Nothing happened. But I just have to remember when I watched it in 2012 why I didn't get as mad as I wanted to.
Which is an interesting thing about franchises now, you know, like Force Awakens and whatever. Like because of what we know now. Do we still like the movie? So I think we agree on this ultimately, and I think you guys just give this one a little bit more of a pass because you like the setup, or you like the potential, even though you know, or at least Patrick, you know for certain that like it doesn't pay off for you, and we'll see if it pays off for you, Hunter. But I totally get you're saying. I just don't even like the setup. That's my problem. Is that like. and for me, it doesn't pay off. So, but also just like for this movie, because it doesn't have a satisfying like arc, or it doesn't have like just like a full circle kind of thing. I can't watch this like standalone, like as a standalone movie. That's the problem, and that's why I don't like the movie. But I also totally hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
The ghost of Martin Sheen's gonna come for you, Nick. I think
He's coming for me.
And the ghost of Dennis Leary. Keep her out of it. Keep her out of it.
Keep her out of it.
Do it. Do you hear me? I'm about to die. Keep her out of it.
Sometimes the best promises are the ones you can't keep.
Smack that ass.
I am selfish. Maybe I'll be better in the next one. Bye. Thwip.
What are you guys? Let's finish this up. What are you guys' ratings?
I give it a 4 out of 10. I think it's pretty bad. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but I don't know if it's the worst Spider-Man movie. That might be the next one. But this is by far the worst Spider-Man movie yet we've tackled. Yeah, I didn't really feel all that much, and that's I think my biggest problem, really. I mean, like, yeah, sure, movies can set up things, but I have to care about the characters. I have to care about what's going on to be excited for what's coming next, and this movie definitely did not do that for me.
Patrick?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 5.5. And because when I saw it, it was a 5.5 that could move up to a 6.5 to a 7 if the sequel was great in my head when I first saw it. But now that I know it's a solid downtrending 5.5.
Yeah. I think I gave Spider-Man 3 a 6.5, so I think I'm gonna give Amazing Spider-Man a 6.8.
Interesting.
Yeah, I like it a little bit more, and it's not,
but not that much more.
But not that much more.
Yeah.
Like and again, I like Spider-Man. Like I like Spider-Man 3. It's just a little bit of a mess, and I like this movie. It's just a little bit of a mess. So
yeah. No, I mean those two movies have a lot in common. They're both messes.
Yeah, so here's to hoping Amazing Spider-Man 2 is good.
Do you remember liking it, Hunter?
I do.
Okay.
I don't think I will this time.
I'm honestly gonna be so intrigued with what you think, Hunter. I'm really so intrigued.
Again, when did this come out? I think I was 15.
2012, yeah.
Or no, I think Amazing Spider-Man 2 came out like 2014.
2014. Yeah.
I think I must have been like 15, maybe 16. I remember liking it and being like, "Oh yeah, that was good."
Well, never mind. I'll save my thoughts for next time. But Patrick Konis, thank you so much for being such a wonderful guest.
Thank you, guys.
So join us for Amazing Spider-Man 2 next week. We have a website, NYC Actors Talk Film. We have a YouTube channel where we do video versions of our episodes. And Joey Dalton, thank you so much for the amazing artwork. I'm going to turn everyone to lizards.
Because they're stronger, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
I want a tail.
Okay. Thanks, folks. Bye. Bye, folks.